Well, hello, I'm Diane Dressback, and I have Kimberly with me today, and we are interviewing Robin Cotè. She is a chapter writer in our book, From Us for You, Inspiring Stories of Healing, Growth, and Transformation. So thanks for being with us today, Robin.
Well,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you, ladies, for having me here.
Absolutely. So I was trying to think back of when we actually met. And I can't remember exactly when it was, but I'm sure it was somewhere in all the filmmaking group here in Arizona. But I do know that that you are a fellow author, and and you also are a radio show host. So maybe you and I should switch spots here.
Oh, I don't know about that. You're the major filmmaker in this group, so you know how all of this is done fit to a T. I'm just the audio guy. You know, I've done film work for years too, but the audio is kind of my thing after 33 years of working in AM/FM radio and now as a podcast producer. So that's my big thing.
Well, audio is just as important, maybe just even a little bit more important than video. So, well, why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown of who you are and give us an introduction?
Oh my gosh, which personality are we talking about? Well, I've actually got, like I said, 33 years working in the radio and podcast industry. Actually started when I was 11, and I actually started working in film when I was 11. My first film here in the Valley was Used Cars. And there's other filmmakers that were extras in that movie as well. Steve Wargo is one of those. So
Mhm.
I've run the gamut pretty much throughout the entertainment industry. I worked in publications for a while for a music publication. I worked as a hockey writer for a while. Yes, go girls in sports. We know what we're talking about. Give us credit. Just teasing. But I also did television for a number of years as well, working for PBS behind the scenes, and then working for about 3 different TV shows that dealt with local talent and promoting talent. So my whole career has run the gamut, and like a lot of people, that dream didn't really pay the bills. So I had all those weird, odd jobs that actually paid the bills: landscaping, working in a steel foundry, driving forklifts, laying block, climbing 50-foot tall palm trees. So I'm kind of like the jack of all trades or Jill of all trades. And I'd like to think after so many years, I might have mastered a few of those trades.
Well,
Wow.
good.
Well,
I'll
she
know who to
certainly,
call when I need to lay some block at the house, right?
I could teach you how to do that. You know that old saying about never do the work? You teach someone how to do it. So we'll do it together. How about that?
Okay.
And you got a man in your life. He can carry the bricks for us, right?
There you go. There
There
you
you
go.
go.
unbelievable, Robin. You are every woman, and I knew that before, and it's even more prevalent today. So we're really excited to have you as part of this interview, and I'd like you to give me your elevator pitch of what your chapter is about. So try not to give too much away because we want the audience to read your chapter.
Elevator pitch. Darling, I haven't had that saying in my life in so long. But basically, what I talk about, I mean, I know your history. Your history is similar to mine. And what I talk about is going through something that, even though I'm a strong woman and I've been through some pretty bad situations in my life, I couldn't understand how I found myself in yet another bad situation after I had learned to love myself. But I didn't realize that I really didn't love myself enough, that I didn't pay attention to certain things that were going on that I ignored because I wanted that love from somebody else. So my chapter deals with being that strong woman, falling prey, so to speak, to yet that again and allowing someone to come into my life and turn it upside down when I knew better not to let that happen. So it's a very relatable chapter to many of us who have been there, who question ourselves and go, wait a second, I'm a strong person. Why did I allow that to happen again? We're human. And human nature is we all want to love somebody and we all want to be loved. So I basically talk about what happened and I give advice on what to be careful with in the future because we have to learn to love ourselves. That's the most important thing. And sometimes we forget that. And you know that very well.
Yes, absolutely. And some would say, look at that, what you just stated, and see it as a total success because my next question was going to be, what have you learned from failure? And I think that you just covered that beautifully, because when we fail, it isn't a failure unless we learn from it. And tell me something that you have learned from this deepest failure.
Yeah, and I spoke to a group of students the other night and I told them, I said, listen, everybody's getting participation trophies nowadays. That's incorrect way to handle things because they tell you failure is not an option. Failure is definitely an option. The guy who created the light bulb failed so many times before he finally got there. Me, I probably would have given up after 100 tries, but he went over 1,000. Me, I fail a lot in this life. But again, every time I fail, I sit back and I look at it and go, okay, well, what's the common denominator? Why do I keep failing at this? The common denominator is me. So there's something going on. It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's just that you're not paying attention to things. And the more and more you start to see those things, you realize that the failure is the teacher because every time you fail, there's something new. And the biggest thing that I have learned through this whole experience is to never, ever, ever doubt my gut instinct because every time you doubt your gut instinct, you're going to be proven wrong and you're going to realize that you should have listened to that inner feeling. That's your guardian angel. It will always let you know when you're doing something wrong. And yeah, we all want to be loved and we forget those red flags. We forget those guardian angels, that gut instinct telling us, that's not right for you. So once again, that taught me even at my age now, that was 5 years ago, getting divorced, almost six. And here I am at 53. I don't tolerate that. If I see the first red flag, I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm done. So, lesson finally learned.
And I hear that, and I know that down the pathway there'll be more lessons presented, and we'll learn. But I love how you're encouraging anybody that's listening to, this is first,
Hmm.
and take care of this is really what the message is. And you are just so strong-willed with your message, and we appreciate that. And now that you are, when I said in the beginning of this interview, you are every woman. So this question is going to be really something for you to answer. But
Okay.
where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Because you've accomplished so much.
I don't look at 5 years from now. I used to, but all the death I've had in my life has taught me one thing. You can't change what's already happened. That's definitive. It's set in stone. Um, you can't think so far into the future because you're not there yet. I've had a very unpredictable life. And every time I focus so far in the future with goals and everything else, everything has not come to pass for me. So I've had to learn to think on my feet, sort of like a boxer in the boxing ring. Even though you're trained to fight a certain way or you're told to do this, you don't know how the other guy is going to react or act. It's the same assimilation with life. We never know from one minute to the next what's going to happen in our lives. We don't know how things are going to change with the current state of everything in this world today. A lot of people have gone through things that they never thought they would. A lot of people had goals set in place, and those goals were ruined because of the current state of this pandemic we're going through. With me, I've no longer concentrate on the future so heavily, but I have begun to learn what it means to live in the present moment. Take every breath that you take and just appreciate everything. Get out in nature, live your life to your fullest every single day. And I look at it this way, the universe has done pretty good with me, good, bad, or indifferent. It's given me many different experiences. I've had my heart broken. I've had so much happiness and so much sadness that I don't look at the future like that anymore. I just look at the future as, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow? I got to go to work or I'm going to take a road trip for the day. So 5 years from now, I have no idea. All I know is that if I'm still here 5 years from now, I'm going to be grateful for that.
Beautiful. And you are beautiful.
Mhm.
Don't make me cry, man.
One of the, it's interesting on what you were saying you know, like I know we're friends on Facebook and I see your pictures and you're going in your incinerator and
Yep.
and going out and I see those photographs, those beautiful photographs of wildlife behind you. Tell us a little bit about what that does. You might have to describe the incinerator. Some people might know what that is.
The incinerator, she got her name because she's a movie car, and she's a 2008 Mustang GT convertible, beautiful silver color. She's actually in the shop getting a little bit of body work. She chipped a tooth, which is a chip in the bumper, so they're kind of replacing the bumper for me today. And what I do is I pop the top on that car. Now, mind you, this car, I got it December 23rd, 2007, brand new off the showroom floor, my Christmas present to me. I just turned over 200,000 miles on this car. And there's so many people that will buy these cars and park them and only take them out once in a while. But we live in Arizona. And most of the time it's too hot to put the top down. But like right now, this time of year, 70 degrees, I will put the top down. I will get in the car and I will take a drive somewhere. I will blast my stereo. Sometimes I will have friends that say, "Can I go on a road trip with you?" A lot of times I don't want them with me. And why that is because I love my solitude. I understand what it is to be one with nature. I appreciate being by myself, cranking the music, going down the mountainous roads. One of my favorite drives, guys, is this. You go up the 17 and you get off at 69. You partially go through Prescott Valley, but then you take that detour and you go up the back way through Jerome. So I believe it's Mingus Mountain. You take those windy roads up to Jerome. Then you go through Sedona. I don't stop in Sedona. I go through and drive through Oak Creek Canyon all the way to the end, almost to Flagstaff. Then I turn my Mustang around and come back. I drive 400 miles in one day. I don't stop and do the touristy thing. Sometimes I'll stop in the forest and sometimes I will take pictures. I'll go out towards Saguaro Lake and take pictures of the wild horses. And to me, it's just being enveloped in nature. We don't appreciate what we have here. We human beings have something beautiful outside our house. We tend to get tied up in video games or binge watching, which, I'm guilty of binge watching once in a while too, if I don't feel like going anywhere. But the greatest gift that we've ever been given by the creators is nature. And the biggest thing that I will drive up to Payson and sit underneath a tree at a lake. Right in town, it's right off the main strip. I'll just sit there all day. Sometimes my bald eagles will fly into the tree right above me. That is so beautiful. Other times I'll just sit underneath that tree and take my shoes off and put my feet in the grass. People have no clue how underrated taking your shoes off and soaking your feet in the grass is. Kimber knows, she lives in the beach. She's in Hawaii. If you walk in the sand, in the water, barefoot, you're one with Mother Nature. And that is something that just balances you from the outside in. It goes through your feet all the way up and it just fills your soul with such peace and happiness. So to me, that's what jumping in the incinerator and getting out of Dodge, so to speak, means to me. It's just being one with what's out there as opposed to being caught up on social media or watching what's going on television. We have to be able to find our center, to be one with ourselves and to feel complete. And no one can do that for us. Our happiness is based on what we do for us, not, yeah, it's nice when people do things for us, but we can't rely on other people for our happiness. That's up to us.
That is, you hit that nail right on the beachhead. Because
Exactly, right?
it is, it's all about living. Well, actually, what you feel on the inside is what is portrayed on the outside. And you're very, very smart, Robin. You're a leader in your community, and we are so grateful for you.
Oh, don't make, dude, you're going to keep this up. I need to grab a tissue. She's going to keep making me tear up here. Oh, I look so bad. I was doing this on the class thing the other night. They were making me cry and I felt so embarrassed, but I was joking about it. I kept telling them, guys, don't mind the snot coming out of my nose. This is just me in the flesh. Sorry, I'm all about getting real.
That's right. And it's your snot. It's okay.
Right? I'm not infecting anybody, so I'm good.
That's funny. That's funny. Oh, so I was going to ask you, I know that you were in broadcast for a while and then you went out and now you're back. So tell us a little bit about the radio show that you do and what you love about broadcasting.
Well, I'll tell you where it all started actually. And it's funny for me because I have no idea where it came from, but when I was 4 years old, I locked myself in the bathroom, and remember those Play School record players? They were plastic, they were red and yellow and had the curly Q string with the microphone, and I remember my mom knocking on the bathroom door, and she, like, picked the lock, and she goes, "You don't have to lock yourself in the bathroom to sing to your records." I said, "I'm not singing to my records, I'm playing DJ." How did I know that at the age of 4 that I would eventually become a radio DJ? There's just something about it that when I get behind a microphone, as you can tell, it's hard to shut me up. Those voices in my head just roll, and these little characters do their magic. And sometimes this mouth, you never know what's going to come out of it. And I blame that on a lot of the radio DJs I spent time around. Sorry, guys, you were great mentors, but you taught me how to be a little weird behind a microphone. And I spent 30 years on the AM FM dial, and I loved every minute of it until it got to a point where they said, okay, you can't have a personality anymore. And everything became automated. Everything was in a computer. There was hardly any time you turn on a microphone and talk. It became very boring to me. And I'm a very hands on person. So I left the industry in 2006 after 30 years. And um, it was a big mistake for me to do that, but I did it because of the man that I fell in love with. I went and quit the career, started a business with him. And then that divorce was almost 5.5 years ago, I believe now. And I was actually unemployed at 48, having to start my life over, selling the house, closing the business, getting the divorce. And this job just kind of dropped in my lap one day. I had a meeting up at the network, and I was asked for advice by somebody who worked in the film industry who wanted to start a radio show. So she asked several of us to meet at the building. The next thing I know, somebody said, well, you should have a show here, Robin. If you volunteer to run this show, we'll give you this show. And the next thing I know, I'm there training. And there's a kid working there who quits. And Dave Pratt and my other boss at the time, Ed Vanderlee, were sitting in the room having a meeting while I was training myself on the equipment. And he goes, we got to hire somebody, Ed. You got to look for somebody. Ed goes, hey, Dave, she's sitting right in the next room. So I had a talk with him, and he said, would you consider working here as a studio director? I didn't even have to say yes. I got the job. And, it was scary at first because it's more technological than regular radio. In radio, you just step in, and the engineer is the one that fixes all the malfunctions. You're the guy that just presses the mic and the music and that stuff. But in this job, there's more technology. I become not only a producer, but I become the engineer. So I'm like super glue and duct tape, and I'm always calling my other guy in studio, Rob Trigg, another great radio legend. And I'm always going, hey, Rob, you're not here. You can't get here. How do you fix this? So then you become more of an engineer type. And what's really cool about this job, I produce 25 to 30 podcasts every week. And some of them I get to jump on the mic and have fun and be part of the show. And I don't listen to podcasts very often outside because I'm listening to that all week. I'm hearing all these different shows. So I'm doing everything rock and roll to former police officers, to real estate, to finance, to religion. Oh my God, you name it. It runs the gamut. And I never wanted to do my own show, but I was co hosting on a podcast for about 2 years. And then I decided I wanted to be done with that because the other host and I had different ideas on where to take it. Um, they wanted infomercial type shows, and I wanted real stories. I wanted people who came from tragic circumstances and turned their life around and triumphed and not just survived, but thrived in their life. So one day out of the blue, January of last year, Get Real with Robin was born. And I don't do that many shows. I usually do it once or twice a month because I'm all about quality over quantity. And I will seek people out. I will stalk them on the internet. I will go look for people that are what I call the movers, shakers, and difference makers. They're the people that they don't let life take them down a bad path. They go through things and then they help others by what they learn. It's what we were talking about earlier. What's the point if we go through all this stuff and we're still standing? Why are we still here? I shouldn't be here for all intents and purposes. I should have been dead years ago from my domestic violence. I shouldn't be here, but I'm still here. So that's why Get Real with Robin was born, because this is a platform where people can come on and talk about things that people are they're afraid to talk about, but we need to hear these things. And when we do these shows, I call everybody part of this thing called the collective, or hashtag the collective.
Mhm.
And it's just the collective is everybody in the whole entire universe that's doing these phenomenal things to help others. Because as I said, what is our purpose if we're still alive after everything that's happened, that was really tragic, hard, the traumatic things? What do we do with that? We cannot just sit here and let that sit. We're all here to live, learn, love, and teach. So a lot of people forget that last part. As I've been told, we have to teach, we have to help each other. So that's why I do what I do now. And I find phenomenal people. I have a great pool of people, and one of my favorite co-hosts is my dearest friend, Kirk Nermy. He's always jumping on my texts and saying, "Hey, I got an idea for a show." I'm like, "Okay, good. Then you get to intro the show." That's not my show. I'm one of the hosts, but everyone that comes on that show is a co-host. I will never, ever, ever put anybody in a guest position, because the person I partnered with before told me that she couldn't play number two to me, and she felt like, because I had the broadcast career and she didn't. Her husband's famous for a broadcaster, so she didn't want to play number two to me or him. And I will never do that to somebody on my show. It is our show. Whoever comes on is my equal. They will never be considered a guest. And it just works out to be something pretty phenomenal. Everybody I've had on it
Mhm.
so far is just the stories they've told, where they've come from, what they've done, and what they're doing now is just, it's unbelievable. The talent that we can tap into by things that, like I said, there's subject matters that people don't want to talk about. And
Mhm.
I always stay away from racial issues and political issues because there's enough of that negativity. I'm not in the right frame of mind, but there's so many phenomenal people out there. And Kimber shared some of her stuff in her latest book, her first book, about what she went through. And that's what we do as
Right.
teachers and learners. We share things, the process we go through. Are you getting teary eyed on me? I can see.
No, but
No.
what I did want to say to you, Robin, is when I asked you the question about the 5 year and your
Hmm.
beautiful answer. But if we reverse that, if we took the last 5 years, because you said you've changed from your past situation to now, if we reverse that and showed you and then fast forwarded it to today, look where you are in that 5 year time frame. So I am so excited because I can't wait to see now. Maybe you don't have a plan, but life does, and where you will be. And maybe we can play this again.
I love that because I'm in the universe's hands. I've learned that everything is not up to me. I can only react to what happens. And if I choose to react positively, then the good things will happen. If I choose to act negatively, then I'm going to find myself back in that reverse situation. And I will tell you this, the greatest moment of my entire life was in December of 2019 when I parted ways with that old show host and she left my studio that day. That was the first time. And at that point, I believe I was 52. I had just turned 52. At that point in my life was the first time I had completely loved myself, because I was not heartbroken. We ended amicably, and I was so relieved because for 6 months prior, I had been wanting to get out of it. I wanted to leave, but I couldn't because I was afraid that my job would be sacrificed in the process. And it wouldn't have been, but that was my fear. And the minute that I stepped out of that fear and I realized for the first time in my entire life, I loved myself completely, everything has changed. And that's how I drew the right people to me. I got rid of the wrong people, drew the right ones to me. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that the universe is allowing me to see things so much clearer than I ever have, and it feels really good to have that self-worth and that self-love.
I have one last question for you, Robin.
Sure.
So, I'd like to have you maybe share one thing that you learned about yourself while you were writing the chapter for the book.
The interesting thing about this is, Diane, I was going to start working on book number 3, and book number 2 actually was going to be about that previous situation that I wrote about in the chapter here, but I wasn't ready to discuss it, and I was also pretty angry at myself for wanting to give him a voice too soon. And then when I sat down, when I told you what I wanted to write about, I felt like, "Oh god, I just made a mistake. I told her something that I wasn't ready to." But then I saw something on social media where I realized he's still stuck and he's still blaming me for things. And I'm like, I've taken responsibility for everything. He still hasn't. And that gave me the fire to write that chapter. And when I finished that chapter, here's the funny thing. I sent it to a buddy of mine in New York who actually helped me on my second book. And I said, read this and tell me what you think. And he said, no, you nailed it right on the head. He goes, it's about time you put it down on paper. But I struggled with it for the first couple weeks after I had talked to you and agreed because I think I made a mistake. How do I do this now? Because I wanted to tell people that even though you're the strong person, even though you're smart and you think you realize I'm not going to fall for that again, and you fell for it again, but it was even worse this time around. How did that happen? How did you let yourself do this? And the thing is we don't really look at it as it's our fault, but yet we do blame ourselves. We look at them and blame them for bringing us down, but then it's like, how did I let that happen again? Why did I do that? And I think the greatest thing I got out of this was it has nothing to do with me at all. And there's that 4 agreements. Don't take anything personally. That really hit home with me because I saw what he wrote on social media and it was very disheartening because he did it on a post that he had no reason to put that up there because it hurt the person he wrote it to. And it also opened their eyes to the kind of person he was. And when I saw that, I went, all right, you know what? I made the right decision to do this with Diane. And I sat down and I wrote that chapter like you wouldn't believe. It all just poured out of me. And it was like the most healing thing for me because I had been holding that in for so long because I didn't write that book. I let him hold me prisoner 5 more years, even after I got away. And I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about it at all. So to me, that was the greatest thing for me was finally being able to set myself free of that prison. So, here I get all emotional. I can't help it. Sorry, guys.
It's okay. That's okay. And
I don't know if
I'm
I answered your question.
It did. It did. I'm looking forward to sharing your chapter with everybody because I think there will be a lot of people, women who can relate to that situation.
Oh, there's a
And
lot of men that can relate to that
yeah,
too, which is really
yes,
sad. You see
yeah,
it, and that's the most disheartening thing is the women always get to tell their stories, but the men never, when it happens to them, they just wither away and they don't talk about it.
yep, yep.
So,
That is very, very true. So sorry to ask you a question that you got
no,
emotional with.
no,
I do. I appreciate the honesty and really the fortitude that you had to get through that situation and
well,
and
you can do a lot when you get pissed off, Diane.
yeah.
Boy, let me tell you, I
Yeah.
write the best stuff in the world when I get pissed off, which is it is the best therapy in the world. People don't realize what kind of therapy it is. That's why your counselors and your therapists will tell you journal.
Yeah,
Journal.
right,
It is so
right.
healthy to journal.
Yeah.
Ah.
Okay. All right. Take a deep breath here. We're going to finish up. So,
Okay. I know I'm
so
wiping all this stuff off of me right now.
it's okay. I'll edit that out. um, well, I thank you, Robin, for your time today that you spent with Kimber and I, and very much enjoyed the conversation. And we will be very excited to get your story along with all the other stories out there. So
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
can't wait to read them all. I'm
Yeah.
so
Me
excited.
too.
Me too. Me
Gotta
too. So,
read it.
well, I've read them, but yeah.
This is so cool because we get to see each other, even though we don't get to see each other.
I
So it's so
know.
good
I
to see
know.
you both.
I know.
Thank
I
you.
can't wait
You
to
too.
everything to be done. And thank you for those of you that have watched the interview. Please share. You can find out more about the book project at FromUsForYou.com. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Make it a hopeful one. Thank you.